Alright guys, before I start this video about Stephen Hawking, now I just wanted to say that today is actually Stephen Hawking's birthday. So apparently what I was going to say is happy heavenly birthday to Stephen Hawking. But before I actually start this video, I just wanted to say this. Now, as I was going to say is that Stephen Hawking didn't appear in some cartoons such as The Simpsons and The Fairly Odd Parents. Now, what I was gonna say is that Stephen Hawking was actually the English theoretical physicist, and by the time he was here, I just saw an episode which was Remy Rides Again, and Stephen Hawking was the one doing like complex calculations when Mr. Crocker was teaching them in math class. So what I was gonna say is that Mr. Crocker did appear here, and he apparently saw that Stephen Hawking did like so much of like complex mathematics. But we don't know about The Simpsons because I haven't watched that episode yet. Even though I've watched like a lot of The Simpsons episode, I find these ones very funny, you know. And I've been watching The Simpsons for almost 6 years. So eventually what I was going to say is that The Simpsons was one of my childhood shows. Especially for my friends, you know, my brother's friend, you know. Not the one in the Philippines, I mean the one in my previous school, you know. I really got interested in watching The Simpsons back in 2016, 6 years ago. And eventually what I was going to say is that I don't really know, and I forgot if I really saw that episode or not. Maybe no. But the only episode that I did see, like the only cartoon that I really saw from Stephen Hawking's appearance is Remy Rides Again from the Fairly Odd Parents episode, you know. That was actually my childhood. So eventually there was also another Stephen Hawking's debut. It was actually an episode that I really forgot. It was actually from Sesame Street. So eventually what I was going to say is that Sesame Street does a lot of these things, especially showing like an actor or an actress, you know. They just talk about moral lives, you know. And what I was going to say is that Sesame Street was actually my childhood as well. I've been watching Sesame Street ever since I was just a little girl. So eventually it was actually a good thing that I've known and I've heard about Stephen Hawking, you know, ever since before the time of his death. So eventually what I was going to say is that Stephen Hawking was actually like a great artist, like, you know, like that, like the artist. He was an artist. So eventually what I was going to say is that he's not an artist, sorry. He was actually like the scientist that did like lots of complicated math. But even though I cannot do complicated math, because the complicated math right here, you know, in 12th grade they give you like theological stuff like here. They just think that, oh, the math is like very hard. Sometimes, you know, math like that. I've never learned those kinds of like math stuff before because I'm not that kind of good in math. So what I was gonna say is that mathematics definitely was a terrible nightmare for me, especially when you're trying to do theologically complex mathematics like Stephen Hawking did. Fortunately, it was really sad because at just a very young age, Stephen was diagnosed with anthropolytic laterosclerosis. It was a decade that paralyzed him in 1963. Stephen Hawking was only 21 years old when he was diagnosed with the disease, but that does not stop him from being the greatest theological scientist ever. Now, what I was going to say is that Stephen Hawking died on the 14th of March 2018 at just 76 years old. He was living with this disease for more than 50 years. And you know what happened in the movie? When you see the movie right here, which involves Stephen Hawking, you could just see that Stephen Hawking apparently fell. He was hospitalized, and he was he was the one in like the back down, you know. He was paralyzed. He was the one doing this one and for the back down, you know. He was paralyzed like forever. You can't fix your paralysis, you know. As what a doctor would say, the doctors would normally say that people who have been diagnosed with this kind of disease cannot run, they can't do anything, but that disability does not stop them, especially when you're trying to do all these kinds of things, you know. Like one time you just try and just do like the things you want to do, it doesn't really stop you from that. It never ever stops you from that. You see, it never stops the disease from that. But what Stephen Hawking's like prediction does is like a complicated math, like saying 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. Now what I was gonna say is that 2 plus 2 does not equal to 5, guys. It does not equal to 5. What I was gonna say is that Stephen Hawking did this kind of calculation to say it was 5. But why 5? Like, why 5? Well, according to my opinion, what I'll just say is that Stephen Hawking's mathematician works are definitely very, very complicated, especially if you want to go to university to study this complicated math, you know. Like, Stephen Hawking just does a lot of these kind of like mathematical equations. Like, these ones are very, very hard, especially for me. But if you ask one of my friends, who is definitely a smart genius who likes to do a lot of math, gets good grades, but unlike me, I do not. Because I don't know math, like hard, complicated math. So what I was gonna say is that these kinds of math right here, this actually includes like a lot of these stuff, the graphs, complicated math. I'll just say in my opinion, it is really, really difficult for a special needs person to be learning this. Because as a Malaysian Chinese diagnosed with speech delay and developmental delay, because I had that disease. I don't think I really had that disease, but I was diagnosed with that when I was 2 or 3 years old. So eventually what I was gonna say is that this disease did not stop me from having it, you know, like having it. So what I was gonna say is that Stephen Hawking's one, he was actually he was a doctoral student. It was really, really difficult, and he was disappointed. So in 1963, when Stephen Hawking was 21 years old, he was going through like some kind of a disease like that. He passed out and was in the hospital. Unfortunately for that, you can't fix the disease. You can't fix the paralysis. You can't fix sclerosis. You can't fix anything. You know, you can't fix the disease. Fixing disease, you know what actually means? You can't fix anything. You know your parents are watching you if you just break your bones, you know, like that. But definitely for Stephen Hawking's like incident where he just had like the sclerosis right here, you know, it couldn't be fixed because being paralyzed from the neck down, like say for example you are in a car accident or you are just shot down by a gunman at school. This is like totally like scary. Like, why would people do that? Well, people are out of their mind. They just drive really, really fast, and shortly after that they just ended up in a car accident or even just got themselves killed like that. So what I was gonna say in my opinion is that Stephen Hawking did survive for a very, very long period of time until 2018. I mean, he did die at just like 76 years old, which I do believe it was actually like the General X, if I'm not mistaken. So before I really, really sign off, I just wanted to say this. Happy heavenly birthday to Stephen Hawking. And rest in peace, Stephen Hawking. Thank you for your heart theological mathematics. Thank you for all of that, and rest in peace.